Hello. If you're like me and you're strapped for space, you're always looking for new ways of shoehorning vegetables into your garden. Anything that's on the go, you take a look at it, you evaluate it and you see if you could use it. So one of the things that caught my eye on YouTube were raised vegetable gardens, vertical vegetable gardens indeed. Vertical vegetable gardens. It sounded interesting, it sounded like something that would go against a wall or against a fence and enable you to grow more vegetables. And it also sounded as though it might be an opportunity for disabled gardeners to perhaps grow more vegetables, because if we're starting to lift things off the ground, then they become more accessible to someone with a disability, someone who perhaps struggles to lift or struggles to reach, or dexterity issues or balance issues. If we can get things up off the ground, maybe it's something that would be useful for disabled gardeners. So I've looked at a lot of videos on YouTube with these vertical vegetable gardens. I haven't looked at them all, but I have looked at a lot. And I've got to say I'm disappointed in what I've found. And basically these videos break down into two distinct categories as far as I can see. We've got the DIY type video where someone makes something and says, isn't this great, we can now have a raised vegetable garden, we can have a vertical vegetable garden. Or it's the person who's trying to sell a product. And I'll deal with them both individually, and I want to then issue a challenge, a vertical vegetable garden challenge. Okay. The first one, the guy that's trying to sell you something. Okay, if you look at what they've got, we've got pipes that stick up in the air, we've got barrels with holes in them, we've got bags, we've got boxes, we've got pots, we've got shelves, all up against walls or all up against fences, and we've got watering systems where we've got pipes and tubes and pumps and bits and pieces. And if you want to spend a small fortune, you can, and you can buy all these contraptions and put them up against your wall. And then we look at some of these and we look at the vegetables that they're growing in there. Okay, and the only vegetable I can find consistently is lettuce, and it's doubtful whether lettuce is an actual vegetable. I'm only joking there, no, lettuce is a vegetable. It's a lovely salad veg, but there's not much more after that. And so when we get the boast that we can grow 50 or 60 vegetables in this vertical vegetable garden, what we find is we've got a red lettuce and a green lettuce and a curly leaf lettuce, and then we may have some mint, and we may have some thyme, and we may have some other herbs, and then filling up space on the end, there's a few flowers hanging there. It looks to me as though we're just filling this space up with anything that'll go in there and look nice for a video. And nobody seems to plant anything. There doesn't seem to be a gardener in evidence. And then we get on to the DIYers. These are people who build their own vertical vegetable gardens. And prevalent in that is the pallet construction, an old pallet. But there are more considerations, there are more comments on the video about what the pallet might have been treated with and what it might not have been treated with, and is it harmful to health and will it be dangerous. There's more comments on these sites about that than there is about the actual vegetables you can grow. And so we see people with pallets. Now, if I can just move, this seems to be the thing for pallets, this 4-inch pot. So miraculously, the person who's building this pallet then decides to load it up with these pots by simply slotting the pot in between the runners of the pallet and then leaning the pallet against a wall so it's nearly vertical. Well, so these things, but you never see them being planted. Whoever's doing the video that turns around and pulls one of these out with a fully grown lettuce in it and says, right, we'll pop that in, and then there's one with a red leaf lettuce and that's it, and then there's some herbs and that's in, and they fill it up, and no one's actually grown anything here. These look as though they've come directly from the seed grower down the road, you know, from the garden centre. They don't look as though the person who's put this video up has actually grown anything. Now then, here comes the rub. Okay, so you use something like this, right, and you're then going to stand your pallet up against a wall. So when your pallet finishes up against a wall, this thing actually finishes up like so, doesn't it? It's wedged in your pallet, it finishes up like so. Now imagine, there isn't a great deal of soil or compost in that. The lettuce, when you first see it, is sticking out of this vertically, because that's the way it wants to grow. Okay, it's pointing in that direction. Turn that on its side and it's now pointing in that direction. Okay, so it's going to have to use quite a bit of energy to get itself vertical again, because it ain't wanting to grow horizontal, it's wanting to turn 90 degrees and grow vertical. And you're going to have to try and water this. How are you going to water that? Any water going on there is going to land on that lettuce and finish up going on the ground. It's not going to go into the pot. And if it hits the surface, it's going to run off it. So 90% of the water you're going to put onto these things isn't actually going to get into the compost. It's going to finish up on the ground or on the leaves, and that's where it'll dry out. So it's going to be torture trying to keep these things hydrated. Now, give it a couple of days and your lettuce certainly will have turned through 90 degrees, but it won't be 90 degrees upwards, it'll be 90 degrees down, because it'll be sparkle. It'll have died of thirst and heat exhaustion. I mean, imagine, you wanting to dry clothes. Okay, how do you do it? You look out your window, you make sure it's a nice day, hopefully the sun's shining and there's a breeze. Okay, that's how we dry clothes. We hang them out in the sun, in the breeze. Well, isn't that what we've just done with this vertical garden? When they were on the ground, at least they weren't catching as much breeze. Now we've brought them up, they catch all the breeze and all the sun, and these guys will dry out very, very quickly. I'll be surprised if you grow anything in these. Now you can stand them on shelves if you like, you can do anything you like, but unless you get a reasonable amount of compost around those roots, these guys are going to dry out. There's nothing going to grow in these vertical vegetable gardens for any length of time unless you're watering them constantly, and I don't think that's what you want. Look, if you've got room to put a vertical vegetable garden next to your wall, you've got room to stand these things next to your wall. A plant pot. Look at the difference in terms of volume of compost. Fill that with compost, put yourself some plants in that, put some real vegetables in that, like potatoes or leeks or carrots, and grow them up next to a wall. When you water them, don't water over the plant, water the compost or the soil. Make sure it goes into that pot. You'll get some vegetables out of those. You'll get nothing out of those. So, here's the challenge, right, here's the challenge. As I've said, I haven't seen all these videos, so chances are there might be a good one out there. There might be something out there that's actually a lot better than what I've described, and it does grow vegetables, and it grows proper vegetables. Okay, this is the challenge. If you've got that system, and you've got a video, put a link on this video, and I'll leave that link on so that I can, and the people that subscribe and watch my videos can go to your video and see what you've done with a vertical vegetable garden. Okay, that's the challenge. Or if you've actually seen a video with a vertical vegetable garden. But what I must say is, I want to see vegetables being harvested. It's no good showing me something that's full of lettuce and herbs and flowers and all kinds of stuff looking really healthy. Clearly that's just been built, it's just been erected, it's just been watered. Anybody can do that. What we need to see is something being harvested, and hopefully not just two leaves off a lettuce plant. That doesn't cut it. So there's the challenge. Okay, vertical vegetable gardens. Do they work? Is there a system that'll work, that'll be any good for anybody to grow proper vegetables? Let's find out. Let's post this video, let's see what sort of response we get. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video, I hope it's useful, and I hope that we get some good responses on this vertical vegetable garden, because if it works, then it's something I'm going to have a go at. I'm going to give it a shot if it works. But if I can't find one that works, then okay, I won't be doing it, and I don't think you'll be doing it. Unless you can see one that works, it's pointless. Okay. Homegrown Veg, signing out.